Hey, 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 everyone. Happy Friday to some, since tomorrow is Thanksgiving, and then otherwise happy Wednesday. But welcome. My name is Taps, and welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and let the fam know that we're in here on Twitter and Discord and everywhere else because we have a special guest. This is, I think, the third appearance, but help me in welcoming the intergalactic bread cat from space, the Feesh father, and well-known VV Omi and well-known VV Omi whale Brock McBlockchain. Oh, can't
It's
even get
okay.
that.
We'll get it
Welcome,
right the
Brock.
fourth time. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, how are you?
Doing well. How's are you? I think you're in the States. So I was gonna say, like, are you excited for Thanksgiving, family time?
Yeah, I call it Big Dinner. That's the holiday that we're celebrating. No,
Big
yeah,
dinner.
no, doing some family stuff. But definitely, this is one of the just there's a lot going on. Like you said, I'm fathering a bunch of fish. Um,
The
but
Fish father.
yeah, I'm definitely excited. And yeah, it should be a good holiday. How about yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I've got some. I'm excited just to eat food all the time, but to actually eat it for a holiday and actually have some time off is great to me. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I appreciate you. I think I said this is our third time hopping on. You've got some things to talk about, and so before we get into it, and actually, real quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the topics, so that way, if people are hopping on, they're like, "Well, do I want to stick around for this whole conversation?" You do, because we're going to get into a number of things here. Let me go ahead and pull this over. And we're also going to reveal a little bit more information. I think actually a visual, which might be a first on the Feeshes
Yeah,
project that
it is
Brock
the
has been
world
working on.
premiere. Yeah.
Yes, I got it. The world premiere. All right, my screen. Okay, that looks small. Let's go ahead and blow that up. Boom. All right, so here's what we're covering today is MTL tiers. Could there be a sell-off or no, or maybe like a dissipating one, maximizing the Master Collector Program points, undervalued collectibles versus overvalued comics, fiches, what's coming with MTL, immutable move, OMI Utility, future state items like the new digital product, potential third-party apps partners that can also use OMI, which David, you mentioned, more events, acquisitions, mergers, OMI price, collectibles in a bear market, and of course, questions from the fam, which of course, super chats take priority and support the channel. So before we get into that, I thought it'd be fun to kind of do a little bit of a lightning round, Brock.
Oh my goodness. No,
Are you
yeah, throw it. Let's hear it.
okay? So I'm going to ask you 7 quick questions, and I want you to not even think about it. Turn your massive brain off and just answer them. Okay.
I will try my best.
All right. So question number 1: what character or brand do you want to see come to VV?
What do I want to see to come? Starts with a P. What's it called? Uh,
Pocket.
Pikmin or
Oh,
whatever from
Pikmin.
like yeah, that's it. That's the one everyone wants, right?
Yes.
No, for me, I don't know. I've fallen for a ton of art, and I think that would be great. But if anyone knows, every time Trevor asks for stuff, it's John Constantine. I think DC is sleeping. I think they're letting Marvel come and take their lunch. I want them to come back with like Justice League full weekend drop. I want to see John Constantine from like the Dark Justice League. It's just that's where it's at. I mean, I definitely love Disney and all of the bigger ones that we've got. But yeah, I think I want DC to throw a punch. I feel like we kind of got left hanging with season 5 of Batman Black and White. I get that they're like statuesque, but like those are pieces of art to me, and I just there's always that nostalgia of like the first VV drop and the first season, even into season 2. And so I really hope DC comes back to VV like really strong, and then we see DC and Marvel kind of go at it, if you will, inside VV where the fans get to enjoy both sides of it. So for me, John Constantine is like my all-time favorite. He's awesome.
Love it. So, I mean, I'm not too familiar with Constantine, but I mean, of course, it would make me a fan, right? Like, it's already something comes out on VV, and then people just start buying the physicals and become more fans anyway. So,
Yeah.
all right, question number 2: what is your current favorite collectible?
Currently in the app right now. Ooh. Okay, sorry, we're supposed to do like lightning rounds. I
Yes.
really really like the Jermaine Rogers, the creeping one that just came out.
The Darrow?
Dero, so good. And I get people think it's creepy, but I don't know, that and his choices series, even the Labbits are just like, I don't know. That's kind of my side of it. I definitely like the Spider-Man SR, and I'm sure everyone wants me to like say they're like the thing that they're holding on to pump their bags, but like
I'm sure they do.
for me, it's the Jermaine Rogers pieces are just so unique, and I guess I'm excited about 2 years from now, like how many different Marvel things and Disney things we'll get. But yeah, I'm really enjoying those. The golden moments are perfect too.
Yep.
I think I'm secretly, but maybe now not so secretly, trying to stack up on the homers because people are disrespecting them. But yeah, that's it. I wait for people to like disrespect stuff. Like
I do too.
Decon, even like there were so many like gems in there and like beautiful pieces that I think can really make a showroom pop. And I'm just waiting slowly for like the 2D to continue to be disrespected, just to buy up at the bottom. I still think it's like holding out a little high. I'm waiting for like something flashy to come like in the next week or two. I'm guessing it's not like hints or anything like that, but I just know that people will FOMO out of those, and then I'll scoop up more and more of those 2D pieces because I think they're awesome.
I love it. You're getting into the strategy before we even get to the real topics.
I can't help it. Sorry.
So, would you rather be trapped on a desert island with David or Dan?
Oh, that's not even fair.
I know.
Can we go to a different location with both of them? I think Vegas has been in the cards for all of us for a while.
For 30 days,
what hemisphere is the island? No, okay, fine. I'll just answer. Probably Dan, because I think that would help us get off the island. If David and I were on an island, we would just geek out the whole time, and like we would starve to death just raving about the things that we love to collect.
You'd be whittling palm tree cores.
So just for survival's sake, I will take Dan, just to get us back to the mainland, so we can get back to our collectibles.
Awesome. And then VEVE Collectibles or OMI? These are the only two hard ones. I just had to throw them in here.
Jesus. Yeah. Okay. I'll say OMI. Do I get to context, or is it no context in November?
No context.
Okay. OMI.
What avatar will you be in the VEVEverse?
I mean, probably realistic, right? I don't know. It depends on how they do it. I really would like to kind of, sometimes I'll flash stuff like that are like my super exclusives that I'm super proud of, but I also think sometimes it'd be fun just to be low key and be in a room and just listen and hear what everybody's talking about, and then bust out the flex, I guess. But
so you might be like like what's a really low key, like just like a Robin or something?
Yeah, or a Korra.
I think there's gonna be a lot of Korra. And then drivable T-Rex or surfable Pikachu?
I didn't even want to hear the other one, just drivable T-Rex.
Okay. And then last but not least, then we'll get to the actual real questions, why everyone's tuning in, which thanks everyone for hopping in here, and we'll get to these strategy topics. But surfing trip with Reese or LAN party gaming with Trevor?
Probably Reese. Trevor, we'll see what happens if we can get the T-Rex drivable, or the T-Rex in general. Maybe I'll change my answer, but Reese definitely. It'd be good to see him. And surfing, I'm always down for that. I'm originally a Florida boy when I first landed from space. So
very nice. Yeah, Reese is awesome in person, and I think doing like a surfing trip or a snowboarding trip or whatever would be really cool with him. But even LAN party, playing like nerding out with,
you're making
Trevor
me
would be
pick here. Neither would be terrible.
I mean, the questions weren't geared towards me. I can pick both, but you can't get to pick one. So
Fair.
You chose Reese. But all right, so let's get to the hard questions that I just showed. And shout out to everyone for tuning in here. We're going to get through some of the strategy on OMI, VEVE, some of everything going on. We're going to see Brock's project, the Feeshes. Make sure you hit that like button and start thinking about kind of questions that you want to ask, because we probably get Brock every couple months on the channel, which, I mean, if you ever want to just do a free floating monthly stream, I would love it, because everyone seems to get a lot of value out of these. Like I look at the comments afterwards and everyone like, oh, I didn't even think about this. Like Brock is so smart. Hey, how did he get here from space and things like that? So I think it would be cool.
That one would need a long live stream, but let's, if that's what people want, I'm happy to answer questions. So yeah, let's set it up.
All right. So first question is, with MTL rolling out in tiers, like obviously we're going to see the first tier and then about 20 to 50 people kind of trailing down as we get through all of them. Do you think this will make it so there isn't as big of a cash out sell-off like immediately? And do you still expect kind of a big sell-off when this does roll out?
Yeah, so I don't honestly think that there'll be a big sellout. I think that it's already, if anything, like how you can say like, oh, the pump is baked in or it's already priced in or whatever. I think there are the people that are going to be cashing out are already sitting in gyms. Like they're already heavy gym holders. Some people, and I call this out again with these like black market gyms. It's not something that I've ever really partaked in, but the black market gyms that you can buy for 60 cents way back when, waiting to MTL is was just immediately 40% profit, right? So there are folks that are just sitting in gyms. There's people that are recycling. There's this whole kind of like black market. I think that goes away when MTL is about. So that will change because people won't be able to inject a USD based value into discount gems and then go and buy items and then flip them and on profit. Like that whole cycle of the loop will be closed out. So that'll be interesting. But for MTL, like it's the people that are already sitting heavy in gems. Yeah, there'll be people that sell, but I think we called this out before. Like if I can buy something and if I hit the lottery and get a drop and it 10x's or even doubles, like why would I leave if that's continuing to go? Like it would be different if this was like, oh, it's too good to be true. It's like the first month of VEVE, but VEVE's a year in and it's only ramping up. They've got still like hundreds of unannounced licenses. They've got licenses that we still have yet to see things from. So like, why? I mean, I think what will more than likely happen is say I hit like an SR and a comic drop. I go and flip that if I don't care about the comic. I take a slice out and I then reinvest the others and keep it growing. I could see this where I'm pulling out a couple $100 a week to go and pay for bills or whatever, as this is like a side hustle. But I think the complete catastrophic, like everyone just leaves. At the end of the day, it's a collectibles app. Collectors don't just like FOMO out of their things. And if they do, then that's an opportunity for the market to then correct. So if it's a pull, the market will then just flood back into those things. Then the floor will meet, even if it drops by 10%, it's still up from like the retail cost. So, and those are now up people that have now got opportunities because if it grows back to even, they've made that profit. So we've seen the market have dips and gem squeezes and then gem droughts. I'm going to keep coming up with new terms for when just no one wants to put more fiat in. But you know what? Like the app is running smoother and smoother every day. There's hiccups occasionally, but I don't think this is a thing that it just opens and everyone rushes out. I think it's going to be the opposite. I think what you're going to see, you'll see some that do that, but you'll see other people that were waiting on the sidelines because it was this closed ecosystem that they couldn't get cash where it was not real to them. Now suddenly it's real, and now people can rush in and do it. The people that were waiting in the sidelines will probably flood in higher than the ones that rush out. I do also want to talk about the tiered system because I saw a lot of people talking about that on Twitter. I saw some person saying like, oh, it's going to be a certain amount of gems that you have to get into it. I have not heard anything of that, but I do know that like the first group, with just any kind of software, they've tested internally and they're looking at like the happy path. Now they need people that they can be close to that will give them valuable feedback in a timely manner so they can adjust. So it's going to start with like the closed net group, just like the app did originally. And then after that, it'll move to some of the heavy hitters that have a lot of gems to cash out of, making sure that everything's smooth for them. And then it starts to go wider and wider because the more they open it up, the less feedback that they can get from the individual users to adjust. So that's probably the flow. That's how I've done software before. And so that's probably what the expectation should be. Don't think that it's like, oh, it's going to just the people that have above a certain amount. I think it will go towards some of the heavier people just because they're sitting in gyms and those are the people that are probably the most anxious to get out. And then you'll see a mix of everybody in between until everyone's in.
So in a way, then probably like people who are sitting on a lot of gems, like if they cash out, you're not gonna. It could already be baked in, then, right? Like if I'm
they've already
sitting
sold,
on,
right?
yeah, they've already sold
I'm in
them, right?
gyms,
So
I've already sold. So I
I'm
think
sitting
if
on
anything,
120,000 gems, and if I cash out, you don't know, right? Like it
or,
doesn't affect
or the market doesn't feel it because they've already exited, right? It's the people that are the thing that I think you're more likely to see are the people that are thinking that there's this big tidal wave coming of like everyone's going to FOMO out, and it's those people that are going to lose that like kind of race out in fear rather than, again, I'll say this until I'm like forever, know your goals, and if you anticipate a dip, then de-risk yourself a little bit, but also know that like selling a Walt at 2,000 probably didn't play out well for those people. I mean, just be careful with yourself. Make sure you sell it for $8.60, like we saw. No, I'm just kidding. That was terrible. The person who did that, I don't know
I
if
saw
know the
that.
reference. Turns out they were able to cancel it before it got sold, so they
good.
still have it. Yep.
I see those things, and you know what's funny is like when I've never gotten any of those where someone accidentally posts something, but at the same time, because like people recognize our names, if that did happen, I know I'd get reached out to and I'd have to return it to the. Could you imagine getting like a $10,000 collectible for $10? Like it blows my mind, but I'm really happy that that did not happen to Giovanni for the super chat. And actually, Dan did just type something: flipping equals taxable event plus licensor fees plus VV fees plus cash out fees. So that's also a thing too, right? Is like some people, like if they are truly a collector mentality, think about like it's only been a year, right, that the app has been out. And so when I think about it, I think, okay, when you look at like a rookie card, like an actual baseball card or an actual collectible that took a while to actually get there, people who collect, they don't really sell it immediately. Like they'll usually sit on something for a while and then wait for it to get to a really, really high price and then kind of sell things that they are willing to part with to buy other things in the same platform or the same type of collectible. So I think kind of like how you said, there's a mix of, you know, people who have already sold and have already kind of baked in that market, like they've been sitting on gems, just kind of like, all right, I'm ready to get out and then do whatever with my money. Like I need to pay bills or whatever. And also the fact that, yeah, some people also need to consider that it will be a taxable event once you can cash it out, and still just don't want to because they're collectors.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, even I did cash out a sizable thing. We talked about this before, and it went 100% into OMI because to me, I think OMI is the next 10x. The collectibles are going to keep doing their 10x thing. But if I can now have 10x the power to come back into VV when everything happens, I'm playing at a different. That's for me is the smart move kind of thing. And so earlier when you asked like OMI or collectibles, like I want both, but I'm going. I think this is the point of sometimes you have to go sideways and go around about to come back and hit your goals. And so yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of ways to play it.
That makes sense. And then
also mine, the collectibles I sold, I had for over a year, and so sometimes capital gains are different.
That's what I always consider. Yeah, it's so funny. Like you and I think similarly on that. Like I went much heavier into some crypto the day before Thanksgiving today, and I sat on several of these now some blue chips crypto that, and I haven't sold a single one, right? And like I've seen lots of attractive other things, but I'm like, well, I'm gonna eat 35%, you know, off if I sell it in that year, or do I want to wait? In as of today, so I'll probably of it tomorrow or the following day. But like that's exactly how my mind thinks, is like, okay, I've gained 300, 500, 800% that I've been holding for, you know, 300 days. What's another 65 days? I think the same way with my collectibles, right? Like I bought that, you know, Riso Batman in February of last year. So February is not far away. If I really wanted to flip it, then that's the time to do it. So, and that's really interesting that you said that. And I'm happy to hear that you're flipping and then also putting it more into OMI, because like you said, you feel like it's undervalued. It's the next 10x. So let's touch a little bit. I'm going to go out of order here, but let's touch on OMI, right? On the OMI price, it's been kind of floundering, like up and down, right? Like we saw it kind of making that break towards the 1 cent again, and then now it's tracked down to 0.0062, I think it was today. So I mean, like obviously we're waiting on the OMI Utility article, which is supposed to come this week. So hopefully today, tomorrow, Friday. What are your thoughts on OMI price? I mean, and for those who are like newer to the channel, to the fam, Brock is a old school OMI and VV fan. So he has like some of the lowest collectibles, like early collectibles in VV. He jumped in OMI a couple years back. He has an ungodly amount of OMI.
Zeros, 4 zeros in the front of the price.
Yeah, way more than I do. Way more than Randy Chavez, which shout out to real Randy Chavez. But he's been around for quite some time and is still buying at prices, which blows my mind. So can you touch a little bit on the OMI price and why you think we're, I guess, undervalued and still like looking at a 10x?
Yeah. So I mean, like the FUD is the FUD, right? Like, oh, there's no utility. Like there is, but it's not immediate, right? Like we are burning tokens from the reserve, and people say, well, if it burns from the reserve, it doesn't matter. That is building this wave of buybacks, and I know buybacks has been a thing. The team, from my understanding, from what they've said in AMA, is just very, very cautious about becoming a security. And there's been some other projects that have done buybacks that have gotten popped by like federal and like global kind of regulatory systems, right? So VV has a lot to lose in the form of these licenses if they do the wrong thing. And so although me as a token holder, like, sure, I want it today, but also I'm not in a rush. I have different goals. And so I'm waiting for just patiently for everybody else for these buybacks to come in. But I guess the phrase of like, you've only got so much, I'm trying to think of the best way to explain it. Like, yeah, there's no utility today. That's an opportunity to me, right? Like, keep saying that, please. It lets me buy more cheaper, because you're only going to be able to say that for so long. You're only going to be able to say they're not NFTs for so long. You're only going to be able to, like, all of the stuff that we saw this week, love it or hate it of how it played out. Like, you can only say, well, are they really NFTs, for so much longer. There's going to come a time, and it's actively in flight right now. Yeah, there's delays, things happen, but the OMI team delivers. Like, I've been around long enough to know, like, sometimes timelines add a couple months. Sometimes the timelines move not because of anything they've done. Sometimes it's a licensor that bumps something. For example, like they promised the OMI token, like the OMI article, like ages ago. Boohoo! When Disney knocks on your door and says it's go time, you're like, sorry, Disney, we have to write this article.
In years ago,
right? So I think that we live in an industry that lives by the millisecond, and the world moves a bit more slowly than that. And so it's tough, but I think you have patience, because again, for me, OMI, I'm still buying collectibles. Like, I'm not just going into OMI, but for me, OMI is going to have a whole lot more utility, even in the things they've kind of let us peek behind the curtain of. Maybe it's not just VeVe. Like, they'd talked about that before, but now it almost surprised me at how soon they kind of hinted at it. Because usually when they start hinting at something in an AMA, it's around the corner relatively, but it's at least something that they're focusing on. I think the team's gotten really good about don't talk about it until it's closer. I think IMX, like the switch to immutable, if you look at other projects, they're all kind of struggling with immutable. Much like VeVe struggled early days with drops, immutable is now like the cream of the crop as far as layer 2 solutions, and a lot of people are knocking on their door.
Well,
I think
the same thing happened with like Solana too, when all the projects were coming on the Solana, and all these other like NFTs were starting with Cardano. Like, it was absolute wild west and was not functioning very well.
And as a developer, it's one thing to build something and be like, look at this demo, and you can show a thing and it works in the demo's sake. But when somebody else has to integrate to your platform, or like, oh, you don't have a script to like automatically generate the NFTs or whatever, it's just, these are the growing and teething things that happen with a company. And the ones like Ecomi and VeVe are the ones that rise to the occasion and overcome. There's not been one single thing in the 3-ish years that I've been around that they've not eventually delivered on. And sure, in the moment today, you could say, well, what about this or what about that? Like, I don't know, like, what about the track record of stuff where they really did deliver? People were screaming.
And I would love to get a little bit into like also the OMI utility as well. But real quick, just a super chat from All Chat Gaming. Would either of you guys buy charitable NFTs, and would you portal Feesh to the VeVeverse in the middle of a lake that you can get to with an NFT boat, which is really cool?
I'll just say at the end, like the Feesh is a project that I want to keep pushing the limits. It's why I started doing the project, and I'm happy to kind of talk about that in a bit. But yeah, if VeVe opens it up, then yeah, I'm gonna do whatever they let me do. So yes on that. And then would I buy a charitable NFT? Sure. I mean, if it's cool, I guess, or if I believed in the cause, yeah, of course. I think that we're going to see more and more of those happen. Some have already happened, but I think on VeVe, I could see that being. Wait, actually, isn't the Givenchy? Wasn't that?
Yeah, that was
they
like
donated. So technically, yes, I already did.
They made like 120 or 200K or something like that for charity. So that was one. I know that I think we both bought an Afro Droid too. So I've also done, a couple NFTs where I know it's going to help some, in some charitable, or like they even build into the terms, right? So
yeah,
I definitely support a lot of
ships. They donate a cause to like the ocean. So sometimes it's not like everything, but a percentage of. And yeah, I think that it's a great way to kind of do some good while getting something that you'll really enjoy. So yeah, for sure.
Awesome. And I'll get to that, what we were just kind of teasing on. Like, I'm going to kind of go through the order here, otherwise I'll forget some of them.
Definitely.
But thoughts on maximizing the master collector points, because I know Dan has said like they're a small part, but I think they're going to have a much bigger part than people kind of realize because of how we can actually utilize them. So I'm kind of curious, like, what are your thoughts on how to maximize master collector points, not only for people who've been around and have a ton of sets and tons of collectibles, but also for newer users?
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that like the way that I try and break things down is I try and walk through examples. So the Master Collector article, the first one looked, I was like, oh, okay, like looking into that. Then the newest one dropped, and looking into some of the changes. And so I think if you're going to play it a perfect game, it's grab everything, one of everything, is the best strategy. One of everything, and then if you have the funds, obviously just go to 4 of everything to then maximize your points. That is the best way to play it, but that is unrealistic for 99% of the platform, right? So then what is the second best? And if you look, there's these one-time points in this article. So completing a set gives you 100 points. So one thing that you could do is complete small sets, get your 100 points, and then toss it back and then use the gems. Like that's a strategy that you can use to just farm one-time points.
Oh, I
That
didn't even
only
think
goes
about
so
that. So once you complete the set, you've already hit that parameter, you get those points, then you can just sell them off.
correct. Yep.
But
So
of course, you're accumulating more the longer you hold them, right?
correct. But you have to think about how you're trying to play. So that's one way, is to just get the points and get out, and then keep it moving. And then after that, the next thing would be looking at how many points you get per collectible. So it's 1 point per collectible. And then you also get the set points if you complete the set. So realistically, you want as many items as you can have to get the 1 point. Excuse me. And then after that, looking at the sets with the multiple items. So you could look into your Kripkins, your Myrmicorns, things like that. And some people might do the math and say, like, well, actually, if I go and get an SR, it's almost an SR comic, it's almost the same, but the value is not always the same. So the more that you can get those one item sets, and the more that you can get things, I do believe that you'll be in comics too. I think play a role. I think you shouldn't just go into one or the other. I think mixing it up.
I agree.
And then from there, you're also getting points for all the rarities of each item. So those start to stack for owning sets. So again, trying to get as many things as you can is what I would kind of push into. Look at what you're playing with, look at your goals. And this is just for points. At the end of the day, it's a collectibles app, so buy what you want. But I would almost kind of half my mind and have half of my collection be farming me points, the other half my actual collection, because you'll get points off the collection, but you want to keep kind of generating your points, because realistically, as we've seen in the last couple of drops, if we have 1 million active users, cue the tweets of it's not actually 1 million, like whatever, I don't care. A large substantial, it's more than like 70,000 or even 100,000 people going for these drops, and only 30,000 things, it sells out in a second. So how do you win the drop? Because winning the drop actually lets you make the most profit, if potentially.
And so are we confirmed that if you complete the set, it's like an instant? I'm not sure if
that's what it says. I'm going off the article as it's written. So
because I'm like wondering, I was like, is there a snapshot, or once you complete the set, you just
I think it would trigger an event, because if you flip to your profile,
points can be spent. Okay, points can be earned.
I think if you flip to your profile page, it'll show you where you like flipped the digit for the sets.
And then if you sell off that set, it'll keep that set number
the event still happened. Yeah. We can confirm it, but it's one strategy. I'm not saying that that's what I'm doing, but we should ask on the next AMA just to see.
We should ask. Yeah, I think that would be important, because then you can also, if your goal is to get as many points as possible, then what you could do is obviously, like, you want to keep it is a collecting app, you're a collector, so you want to keep the collectibles that you don't want to ever get rid of. But if you're like, all right, well, I don't really care about having this set complete, but I need some funds without actually having to put fiat back into it, but I want to keep completing sets, then you could actually like sell off some of a set just to complete another set, then sell off that set, and then keep kind of tackling down as you want to, right? So just to get for point accumulation, if that is your goal. But that's kind of, yeah, I guess we probably should confirm that. Like, is it that you need those sets for a long period of time, or get those one-off points once completed?
Yeah.
But how it reads is, I think you're right, is once you complete that set, you're awarded those one-off points initially, and then you accumulate more as you hold.
And then basically you swing for the fences when it comes to points, because if you lose, you get 90% back. And if you win, then you made it a collectible at retail. So I think that now that they've changed that, it basically frees you up to, and here's how I'm playing it, right? If I look at a collectible, and let's say it's a $400, one of like the super sweet animated ones, where do those typically go on the secondary? Usually like the $2,000 mark. So don't invest all of your points unless you think that that's worth it, especially when it comes to the OMI side. That's where you'll see I think people get a little more reserved because you don't want to overspend, get it, and then have no profit left because you overspent in OMI. So I think there'll be a floor of when you can expect, and then you'll know where to kind of push. The interesting thing is that we're blind to the points, but I think the community will start experimenting with it and start to share, just like they've done with all the other like align gates and stuff. And so that'll be interesting because it's like, oh, do I tap it 10% up? Do I tap it 20% up? How does that work, kind of thing?
That's actually something I'm curious about too. Is, and I meant to ask it on the first question when I asked, if you think there'll be a sell-off. I wonder if once they actually roll out Master Collector and like people start coming into the fold and having, once the MTL, there's so many acronyms. So once MTL happens and you can actually cash out, I'm wondering if then at some point during that process, we'll start to see the ranking tiers, because how do you make it so that not everyone is trying to sell out of the app and all those collectibles? Is you put a little competitive firebug underneath them and show, all right, well, you can sell your collectibles, but then right now you're 420, but you're going to drop a tier down if you continue to sell off and not accumulate more points, and then you're running a risk of not having as many points that you're gaining, as much access potentially in the VVverse, and eventually when we can buy land. So things like that, I'm always kind of curious
one other
about.
thing I'd like to show you in the article, if you could just pull that back up. The most
so shout out to
interesting.
Jason, great to meet you and the rest of the team at Decon, OMI, and VV Immune. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate you. So let's pull that article back up.
Sorry to have you jump around. There's just one thing that I think everyone's overlooking, and I just want to highlight it for funsies to your audience.
Where?
If you go to right above this, or where the set, like the one-off points are, there's the last bullet point. Is probably the most vague thing. Excuse me. Yep. I think this is going to be huge. So basically variable points for achievement badges depending upon the achievement type. So I think what we're going to see is like a DC badge because I've collected all of the DC things, or a Marvel badge because I've collected all these. And this is going to be where it's a lever they can pull to shake up the Master Collector, because if one of the Master Collector like brands, or excuse me, not Master, just one of the brands is not doing as well, they can offer a new badge type for that collectible or for that set or whatever, where I'm a Tokidoki Master Collector, or I'm a whatever. I can earn the badge. What if the badge is sellable on the secondary, like where I can sell it? Or what if you can unlock different levels of it based upon how long you hold? So it starts off as like chrome and then it goes to like gold, or like, we don't know, right? But being able to incentivize like different points, you're going to see people then racing from one to the other. And so if you're able to kind of anticipate where there is an opportunity, finish out that set, then something like this happens, you get bonus points for that, and then you can also sell into the people that are FOMOing into it, and then you run to where everybody else is not looking anymore, and this like round robin keeps the whole market really, really fluid. So I think that's going to be
think
interesting.
about that. Yeah, no, that's a
it's
really
like a
good
one-liner,
point.
and it's super vague, and I think that that's something to keep your eye on.
And you can buy and sell. I think you can buy and sell badges, and you get points just for the badges, right?
You also get points for selling things and buying things too. So like, I think they just it's a very, very dynamic system, but I think the badges is something that no one's really talking about that I think is going to be really, really interesting as things turn out.
Yeah, we've already seen where like there's little levers that they can pull, right? Like everyone kind of forgets what they've collected, and you see a sell off. Like when we did our flip challenge, I actually bought the 2-ton Sam and a few other things that were kind of, like undervalued, and I bought them during a time when I knew that, okay, we're going to see another season or another drop, right? So I knew that we would see the rest of the serial killers, and that was effective, and I sold it today for a much higher price. And so things like this, like it's just more levers, like you said, that they can pull, and we'll see more collectibles come in, and it just kind of makes really good sense. So that way, like you said, like if you get a badge for it, or they choose to turn that badge on later on, right now people are sleeping on them, but then they'll FOMO in, and then those who've already been in at a good price, they can either get the badge and then sell, or and wait for those people to get in.
Yeah, and they'll also do things, I'm sure, like double experience weekends or whatever, like what I mean, like
where that totally makes sense.
Then it really, really jumps up, like ramps up the secondary.
That's like what people do in different NFT projects on Discord, right? They're like, oh, hey, if you are grinding today and like typing things, like you get double experience points for the next 2 hours. Like they could do the exact same thing.
Exactly. But and then like, so all of these things plus the OMI utility, right? Like, so we've gotten very used to the app performing in a certain way. The market is starting to change. You're seeing people like Sam and myself and others calling out like the market's reacting differently than what we've seen. Like things are changing. Like this wave of new users are coming in, and they're not behaving the same. They're not behaving in the way that we've seen like the OMI fam in the past. Like they're coming in and they're playing it differently, and so that's then
How would you say they're? What would you say is different?
I don't want to get so like some
You're
of
like,
the,
you don't want to say because then everyone will know.
so it's not so much that it's like I'm still experimenting because I've seen the market. I'm in the market like more than I sleep, if I'm being real. Like
Really?
yeah, I only sleep like 5
Well,
hours.
I know
So
you have.
being in VV,
Are you still? Do you have every set still?
uh,
Besides the
so
golden ticket?
decon is one that I'm waiting out because I think that I think people are going to
Me too.
disrespect it more.
I
And
think
also
so
there's
too.
like like 18 things, and like some of them are just out of reach if you didn't get the SR skateboard unless I flip something really really big. So I'm waiting. I think that that's one that it's just a train I'm going to have to miss because it's just at the end of the day, do I chase the set to have one more number, or what's the opportunity cost to go after those I think those skateboards are going to go like 50K, right? Like just from the scarcity, and people can say, oh, it's just a skateboard. The fact that they doubled the secret rare to it, that makes that set super fucking attractive if you can complete it, though, right? That's 2 SRs in a set. I don't think that we've seen that. Maybe I'm wrong. The Labbit season 2 has a secret rare in it. So like that set will have its place. Like, so I'm not disrespecting it in any way. It's just if I'm gonna go in and dump to complete that set, I probably would need like I think 5K and 6K last I checked those two. So like $15,000 like gems, or do I go grab a second Walt, or or grab the second Walt now, wait, and then circle back hopefully before the thing's 30K for each skateboard or whatever. So it's interesting. I think the decon was the tipping point for a lot of people where chasing all the sets became impractical, and then what's the starting to think about what's the cost.
And we talk about collectibles all the time. Like every conversation we've had, it's always been on collectibles and OMI. I don't think I've ever asked you, what are your thoughts on the comics, right? Like we've kind of seen where comics went absolutely parabolic for a couple months, like from like August all the way to actually it was the end of August all the way until basically like the start of November. And they've kind of trended down besides, of course, like the GOAT, Marvel comic #1, which is still down. So I guess my thoughts are, what are your thoughts as someone who's been in the market, who's seen and a collector yourself? Like, do you collect much of the comics, and do you think that they're undervalued?
I'll say this. I think we've gotten a taste of what comics is going to do. I think the same thing with OMI. We've got like when it blew up to 1.014. I think that's going to be a joke in a year's time. And so we got a taste, and it cooled, and now it's ramping back up to launch. Like that again. That's I'm putting my money where my mouth is, literally, because that's what I think is next. I think comics, we saw this explosion, and it's cooling off. And I think that there's things that are just coming to comics for the VVverse and showrooms and things like that. When Showroom 2 comes, like we could get a huge update that swings back to comics. We got this huge UI update to comics. It's super nice now to jump in and grab the things that you want. I think comics is going to come back around. I don't think the comic collectors are truly here. I think some of the ones that are here are sharing knowledge, but also sometimes holding back in some of that knowledge to try and like capitalize. And I think comic book holders are going to surge in eventually when some of these newer features come, if they're going. Yeah, I agree with the Gale.
I agree too.
I think that comics are going to swing back, but I'll also say, and people call me out because I'm preloaded on these, so I'm not trying to pump my bags. It's just what I truly believe, is that we're about to see the surge of OMI when all the utility and everything comes, and it's going to change the whole market because I now can weaponize the gains of my OMI to capitalize on the secondary market, let that play out, then sell into OMI, and then let that go back up another level, and then come back in, or sell on a dip to get more OMI. Like this is going to be one dynamic layer of the token side. But what I think is coming, and that we've yet to see the huge, crazy pump, is stamps. It's because we've only got one set, and so it dropped, and people forgot about them because Disney hit, and then Decon hit, and so the stamp collectors do not fuck around. I never knew that I was going to be a stamp collector, but like you're telling me a #1 first ever stamp and yeah, you can say like, oh, another state, another country did it or whatever, but like, do they do it in AR where I can like put them in a grid on my wall in the VeVeVerse. Like, it's going to be so cool as a stamp collector to be able to blow up a stamp and actually like inspect the beauty of the stamp and the artwork and stuff. Like, that's something that just was not a thing for stamp collectors.
I showed that.
There's other niches that are coming. And I'm not saying that they're coming to VeVe. I'm saying that there's other niches out there that we've yet to tap into that I could also see, like model trains, model buildings. Imagine being able to drop a Statue of Liberty in your showroom and blow it up. Like, these things are probably going to come eventually. I don't know who you talk to for the license, but I'm sure David knows them. But I think that stamps is just one that is, we're going to get the second one, and people are like, oh wait, stamps are a thing, and then boom, like it'll just take off. So
no, I actually showed in a video that stamp actually like already, like there's a company called Stamp DAC that it's creating a stamp stable coin and like actually getting more into it. And when it comes to like collecting, it's one of the most collected items in the world. And so that is, and actually like that company in Austria that showed like they were able to actually use them in physical form to actually tie to NFTs and actually send them out, and it helps reduce mail fraud. Like, that's perfect, right?
But what about this, right? And this is speculation. But what if they add like a stamp book that's in AR that you can like then flip through, and it's easier to interact with, just like a comic or whatever. That functionality is there. But then taking it a step further, what if I buy an NFT in VeVe and it actually is good for one mailing? And so you go to USPS and you scan, or you connect through their app and you actually do it. And then when you use it, the stamp gets the little postmark over it in VeVe that it's been used. So then you've got used stamps and not used stamps. What is that value? And if it was actually used, you've actually got real world utility. And what if that person can then go and see like who the holder is, or you bought someone's stamp that sent a famous letter, or like there's so much that could happen with just these stamps. And so I think that's why stamps are sleepers. But I really feel like this year ish, and even like the earlier parts or the later parts of last year, we saw the OMI ramp up. That's a taste. It is set to go even crazier from here. And I try not to hype up, like I'm not promising any amounts, but just like you just can feel it. And when all the people that have said like no utility, like when they're fucking wrong, because now all it is utility, and it's going to be nuts.
And that's
because you're literally connecting a token with tons of utility, not only to VeVe, the #1 grossing app in the app stores. You're also looking now at other companies accepting it. I'll accept it for my stuff. Like, it is what it is. Like, I will happily take tokens all day, especially when they're in a slump.
What I consider too is like everyone's always like asking like, well, like all these metaverse coins and all these things are coming out, but no one's talking about only like the bigger influencers. And when you see like a lot of the biggest influencers in crypto on YouTube have mentioned OMI, but there hasn't been that utility article, right? And like when I've noticed like Altcoin Daily and TapsTrades and all these other bigger YouTubers, they talk about something when there's a substantial update to the token or the product, right? So of course, when the VeVeVerse comes, we'll be thrown into the metaverse, style of what crypto is trending, and it'll be absolutely bonkers. But until then, that OMI utility article, when you can stake it, when you can actually understand how that token is going to actually go into VeVe, which has gone absolutely insane, over 1 million active monthly users now, that's where they're going to be reporting more of it, because then it ties it to VeVe, which is so easy to talk about, so easy to understand. So yeah. I agree that like that article is so widely,
because they don't want to be a security, right? What happens with staking where it's like you stake so much OMI for 6 months to a year and you get a super rare collectible, and then people that want the cash out sell the collectible and cash out. And for the people that would just want the rare collectibles, so you've got collectors that never would have wanted to stake before, now wanting the rares, now staking. You've got people that just want the gains, staking. And then you've got people like hungry, salivating at the bit to get those collectibles into the market so they can buy them secondhand for their collections. What happens when it's a rolling lockup period for each collectible that they're offering? The amount of tokens that are available will shrink if even half of them are staking. Like that alone is going to set the token on fire. Now that I can actually use it to buy, and I could buy someone's thing, and now they've got OMI, and then they stake it, right? Like all of these things are going to all work together in this like crazy system, and that's again just why I'm so bullish on OMI, because you can only say that it doesn't have utility so long, because eventually all it's going to have is utility.
No, I agree. And
seen the upcoming stamp release schedule? I have not, but it would be cool if it was. I really hope with stamps that we get like one classic a month that's like just a goat stamp, and then
It
like
looks like it's
some
tied to
new.
some holidays, right? Like
Let's see.
holidays and events, which makes sense. And like obviously we saw it with Day of the Dead. So probably what we'll see is some kind of like with the Lunar New Year
Oh,
and
that will go,
US
especially if we get
flags.
localization before that one
Yep.
comes.
Yeah, no, this is, you can see it like tied to some larger like political figures, pony car. Like, yeah, this actually looked pretty cool. I mean, yeah, so that I think that's probably what we'll see too is it makes sense to drop stamps in the VV app that are tied to holidays or that are tied to substantial events or people. So if it's a way, I mean, I think the USPS was brilliant to actually do this with OMI
Yeah.
with VV. So really,
It gives them a new vertical that doesn't cost them manpower, right? Like that's the whole thing, is like they're trying to keep things afloat, and there's some regulatory things that are hurting them. But this is a thing that they can make income off of without needing additional people to do the labor part. So it's interesting.
awesome. And shout out to Aloha and Fun Under the Sun for the super chat. Let's show support and smash the like button. Please hit that like button,
Yeah, where are the
fam.
bots for like buttons? No.
I know. Where are they? I need to download them right now. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's continue on because I know our talks always end up. I think we could literally have like a 4-hour session just to talk about everything. But
I've been doing 4-hour AMAs for the Feeshes, so it's
I mean,
that is
I guess the
fine.
next one we'll block out a whole day.
Yeah.
We'll do a 24-hour
It'll be a
chat. No, I'm
slumber
kidding.
party. It'll be great.
Yeah. So before we get to Feeshes, because I want to make sure that we show that,
Sure.
you kind of touched on OMI Utility. We touched on MTL. The immutable move is kind of like in all of it, but let's touch on future state real quick before we get to the awesome Feeshes. And they've said that there's a new digital product coming. They've said like the potential third-party apps and partners that can also use OMI. There's more events coming. I mean, they've talked about even like acquiring companies. There's so many future state things that we get excited and we're just kind of like, oh, like this is like amazing, and then it kind of cools off. So one thing though that really stuck out to me is, and we kind of touched on it earlier, is that they said that those third-party apps and partners, they're going to be looking over the next couple of months on ways that they can also use OMI. So that stands out because they built out this token to be used tied to the VV app. But now they're actually looking at the success and seeing other ways, other projects that want to use OMI, which there's a ton of it, and more projects want to get as much visibility in the market as OMI has had and like build a community similar. So they're really like, it just makes sense for them to build out an ecosystem and go that way with other partners, other projects, and possibly other crypto to even use OMI aside from theirs. I mean, like, what are your thoughts on this? This is absolutely huge news from the AMA.
Yeah. So someone might fact check this, but I believe ages ago, like 2 years ago, very specific language came out that said OMI will be the token for the Ecomi ecosystem. And it would include Connect, at the time was the name of the app, but then that became VeVe. And so for everyone's like, oh, you have to change the name to VeVe. Like, no, I think that's a mistake. It's Ecomi is going to, like, we want a token that fuels everything, not one that just fuels VeVe. Because I can see this growing and turning into other things.
Can you say that again?
We want the token to be called OMI or something else that is not VeVe. Let VeVe be its own thing, with just OMI being the gasoline that runs it, and let it also be the gasoline that runs everything else.
That's the piece, like, right? Like something that fuels other things, because
Correct.
VeVe is obviously like is the engine, but we're going to have a lot of other elements potentially.
It's just one of the engines. What if this turns into a fleet of cars? You've got VeVe, you've got the VeVe verse, but what if they partner with like some game studio or something like that, and they make a game, and then OMI has to funnel through that game. So all the tokenomic connection of gems to OMI then also flows through OMI as well, but just for another app. And then what if it's 20 apps? And then what if it's now also another metaverse that, because there's some kind of partnership or interplay, OMI works there too, or whatever. Like, thinking that it just needs to be linked to VeVe is looking at one specific thing. It's a collector's app, and that's what where the passion is. But there's other things that people like to do with their collectibles. There's also things that people like to do, would love to do with their collectibles, but they don't want them to break. VeVe fixes that. So NFTs fix that. And so this interoperability it might work one way where we're taking the things from VeVe and putting them onto OpenSea or Immutables thing. But what happens when it's the thing Dan described, which I thought was a genius idea of like this like empty picture frame that now I can pull my ape. I wish I had an ape. Pull my ape in to my showroom and show that off. So I've got my Walt and Mickey statue right next to my Bored Ape Yacht Club, or next to my whatever, any kind of project that works on the internet with NFTs that, swims by or whatever. That would be really cool
free
to see.
visibility for those projects too, right? Like they'll see us talking about it, and someone like all it takes is, and I know there's people in the community who have apes and other NFT projects, right? So I agree that it's really
it opens up the
exciting.
ecosystem. It opens up the ecosystem. VeVe is a thing. It's something for everyone, and the VeVeverse becomes where everything happens for everyone. Like, why wouldn't you want things to come in just as much as for them to go out? I think it brings all of your collectibles and the things that you're passionate about under one umbrella. And so I think it's pretty open and interesting of an idea. And then if you find other ways to link it out to, oh, you guys want to go play this game or whatever, and you jump to a different space within the VeVeverse, and you can bring your OMI stuff that's already wired in and use your OMI tokens, it's just going to make the demand for OMI like that much more.
No, I agree completely. And shout out to Reslone. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you also, Frankie McKinney. Any news involving San Diego Comic-Con? So, I mean, that's going to be a while, like coming summer. I've subscribed to them. I haven't seen any news on it yet, but I'm sure there'll be one coming this year. And I imagine that they'll probably be there in person this time. But we do know there's an event coming, I think in February or March or sometime in Q1 of next year. So we'll see exactly when and where it is. But I agree. Like, that's the piece that really blows me away is like when you look at the users, we have over 1 million users. And I did a video about this, but Sandbox, which is absolutely trending right now, it's been shooting up. I'm really happy I got into Sandbox back in March. And it's doing really well, but they only have 30,000 monthly active users, right?
And now, to be fair, 30,000 is a lot of people.
Like, yeah, it is,
so
right?
Not
especially
them.
Crypto. And like,
but to be,
I'm an investor in them, but like, I mean, how do they or another metaverse or another project grow their users? They partner with a company that has an absolute ton and is very much well known, like Ecomi and VeVe. So if they wanted to use OMI tokens, that way people could transact in Sandbox, and this is obviously no confirmation of anything, but at the same time, the ability for other projects to use OMI now that it's going to be on Immutable X and an Ethereum layer 2 solution is going to be that much easier. Like, because Sandbox has partnered with tons of companies, and so has like even Illuvium is partnering with tons of companies, which is a mutable project. So this gives us the ability to broaden. And like when I invested in OMI, I invested in it because I love the tokenomics and I love the collectibles, but it never occurred to me that an actual ecosystem could be built out just from the OMI token. And it's looking like that's the plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think earlier iterations that made it difficult for that, not going to bring up shadow things, but I think with where the company's heading and what I hope is inside this article, I think it's going to paint the path where it becomes a lot more clear. I also just want to throw out, like, for the user base, the fact that we've got 1 million active users, looking at things like the Master Collector program, it is very simple for them to say, hey, we're celebrating OMI's blah, 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 or we're celebrating Disney's newest release. If you tell a friend, we will give you 10% for every friend you recommend who makes a purchase within the secondary or primary within the month of blank. We'll give you 10% of your points. So like whatever points you've got, add 10% for each friend to where it's a maximum of doubling your points. Hey, now it's 1 million. It's 1 million today, but now it's suddenly like 2 or 3 million, right? Like those levers have never been pulled. And it's because they don't need to. Like the natural growth is there. And again, we're going to have tokenomics and then 3 million people. And if they make it super easy to buy OMI and it fuels an ecosystem, like it just gets kind of comical after a while.
Yeah. And, actually we like challenges, and like brought the flip challenge last time, but I would say Thanksgiving Day challenge, and all of you who are celebrating Thanksgiving, if you're not, know where people are going to be seeing their friends and family, like over the next, couple days or this weekend. I recommend like challenge, like if you're a happy investor in VeVe and Ecomi, like pull out your VeVe app and show them, like play with your collectibles and show them what you're doing, because I've done that just at like my bowling league and like random things, and people get it. I did it during a bachelor party many like months and months ago, and they're like, wait, what? These are NFTs? Like NFTs can do this? I'm like, no, most can't, but these ones can, and it just catches on, right? And like that's how we build our community, is we have like the larger voices. So all 429 of you who are in here listening to me and Brock have this conversation, like take pride in your investment, take passion in your passion, which is the VEVE Collectibles, and show, you know, whoever you're going to see this weekend or over tomorrow in the next couple of days what you're invested in, because it really is fun to bring people into this and to get them going. And like it's then you start hearing them like start having like higher level conversations about OMI and like the Master Collector program, and like it's cool. Like it's very exciting to be a part of this.
Yeah, I'm in a text group of people that I got into VEVE, and to hear every drop, like reminding each other about the drops, like they've like the OMI fam has extended to these like non-coiner people that are now just in the VEVE. And if one grabs a secret, I think one got an ultra rare on like a drop two drops ago. I think it was the Storm or whatever, and they're like, "Holy crap! I just made like $800." I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, isn't this crazy? And like, and so for them, it's like it extends beyond belief, and it's like life-changing money. And soon enough, they'll be able to cash out some, and then keep going, and then it's like house money, and then it's fun to collect, and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's super awesome. My wife would like the opposite challenge, where I try and go a holiday without talking about VEVE to her family and friends. But yeah, I think that again, it's just a matter of time before, you know, we've got to 1 million in just over a year. The next year we'll probably see 2-3 million, and it'll just keep going from there. I mean, Disney picked them. I doubt it's because they said, yeah, we're a collector's app and that's all it will ever be. I'm sure they've got bigger plans that we've even yet to kind of see, even with the breadcrumbs. And so I'm really excited. You mentioned like a new product and all these things. Like the cool thing is we get all of it. Did we get it immediately the day they said that it was going to be, because nothing can ever change or move in real life? No, but at the same time, it's still coming, and they've got a track record of delivering. Sometimes the dates or whatever, they are what they are. But I've been around for almost 3 years now, and they either always deliver or they go above and beyond in what they deliver. So I'm still around and happily excited to see this journey, because I think it's only just beginning.
I even think that saying it might be 3 million by the end of next year is kind of like probably lower, because we actually went from in 8 months, we went from around 60,000 users and then 15x to now over 1 million users. And that is and we've only had, I guess, well, we had a lot of licensors, but we've had 2 major ones that were like crazy groundbreaking. And we know that there are more that are still to come, right? So, I mean, there's still some of those top 10 licensors that we've not yet seen, but we know they have a majority of them. They just haven't revealed them. So like that's 1 million users, and they're still growing every single day. And the fact that we know the VeVeVerse is coming next year, the OMI Utility is just about to now come. So once we actually get more exchanges and people are coming in for OMI, and then they find out more about VeVe, like I know plenty of people who just have only invested in OMI and they're just now. So it's feeding from multiple angles. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're not at least like 5 to 8 million users
I would definitely believe it. I'm just, if I say something, then everyone freaks out, because it doesn't happen in a month from now or whatever. So like
it happens the folling month.
Right. It's always, you have to add 60 days.
Yes.
Yeah, no, but yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like it's just like I've never seen like something that just seemed like such a slam dunk, and it's like I'm watching it just unfold in slow motion. Sometimes, and slow motion is relative. I don't think that it's actually happening slow. It's happening rather rapidly. But it's like, if you know that's where the ball is going, and I'm not a sports person, but I'm gonna keep using sports metaphors because it's funny. If you know that's where the ball's going, then just let it go. Oh, hey, look, it's Ecomi. All right,
give us all your secrets.
Step 1: tear up that NDA and let's get talking. No, I'm just kidding. But no, yeah, no. It's just, for me, it's just, I believe in the team, and if you heard David's podcast, like you can just tell like he's playing on a different level. He said like he stays young because he works he owns a store that kids get to buy things that they're super, super passionate about, and that like kind of fuels him back in. He mentioned bringing in like a financial officer, and that would almost like ruin the secret sauce of VeVe, because if they didn't make the 30% margin that they had to make, then they would have to cut things. And like he wants it is a thing that's being done because he feels that's the right thing to do. And Dan is aligned on that vision, and when those two are together and the rest of the team kind of pile on behind them, like you can just see like the app that we love. Like, why do I spend more time in this app than I do sleep? Because it's fun. if yeah, there's money, and I'm obsessed with collecting, but like that wasn't me a year or 2 years ago, right? Like I was like, oh yeah, I'll buy this token, and then people will buy these collectibles because, like, that's what people do, and I'll just laugh all the way to the bank. Here I am, like with probably one of the biggest collections of like super rare stuff, and it's because it's addicting, and I got that spark of joy that probably David has with his collection through this app, and they're digitizing the collectible experience, and like that's why it's catching. Like I thought it was one thing, and it's 10 times above because the app is fun to use, it's addicting in like the right ways, and yeah, just I don't know, it just seems like it's a no-brainer for me, and that's why
I couldn't agree more. I mean, like I'm pretty frugal person. Like, that's how I've gotten to where I'm at, is thinking in decimals and dollars. And so, like, all my money that is, not like my little tiny nest egg sitting in the bank because the bank's not making me money, is all in investments, right? So for me to put as much money that I put into these collectibles, when I take a step back, I'm like, I would have never done that with anything else a year ago, or even, like it took me a while to get all the way into VeVe Collectibles, but that's money that I could be putting into other crypto or more into OMI and things like that. But I love it. I like actually playing in my collectibles. I like showing them. I like the community. And I would really like to talk a little bit more about David and the vision of the company, because there's a lot of questions around like mergers and acquisitions, or actually I guess more the acquisition side. But before I do that, let's talk Feeshes.
okay,
Like,
sure,
like just so everyone knows, Brock, Brock started, he's very well connected with many artists who are well known in the NFT space, and he is an incredible artist. And for a while, he's been kind of mulling around starting a NFT project, and Feeshes is that project. Can you kind of walk us through, I guess, like the background of it and exactly what it is, and let me know when I can show.
Give me just a quick primer, I guess, and I think it helps to see kind of like the tanks, because up until now it's just been me like trying with words to paint a picture. But basically, I saw like most good ideas, I went on Twitter and I listened to some people complain that NFTs aren't real because you can't touch them, and I was like, well, I disagree. But then that kind of stuck with me. I'm like, but
you're not real, I can't touch you.
Yeah, none of us are real because we can't touch it. We're not supposed to touch people. It's against the laws in some places. But anyway, I was like, well, okay, what if I could flip that on its head, right? What if I could flip that to where the NFT touches you? What if I could make you care so much about something that's digital that you actually feel something, or you actually have a memory of something that happened because of that? And so that sent me down the spiral of like, well, how do I make it approachable, and how do I give immediate utility? Because I wanted to do it differently. I wanted to do it where I do the work up front. So for 4 months now, I've been building this thing. And so instead of saying, give me money and then I'll go build something, like, this is not about the money. Like, the money is empowering me to do more with this world that I've created. And it starts off as a fish tank. And so you buy, it's 10,000 fish, they're 0.0033 ETH. I wanted to keep the price as low as possible to be able to execute on stuff, even if we only sold a fraction of it. So that's what that is. And then, so you do need MetaMask, and you go to Feeshes.com, and then you can buy a fish. And so we've been minting for a week. I think we're almost to 500 fish. Again, I'm totally fine for this to be a slow rolling project. There's 10,000. If we don't sell 10,000 today, that's fine. But you get a fish, and immediately, as of tonight, you'll be able to go to Feeshes.com. If you own a fish, you can go and create a tank. And so then you'll be able to drop your fish NFT.
Tonight we'll be able to do this?
Yep, tonight's tanks and the reveal. And so you'll be able to drop your fish in. You'll be able to collect accessories. So I hand drew all these accessories. I hand drew all the backdrops. You'll be able to adjust the lights. You'll be able to adjust the gravel colors. They're animated. So they start with like a flat NFT, like what you might be accustomed to seeing on OpenSea. But when you add them to the fish tanks, then they actually animate around. And I've hand animated all the fins, and they swim around. And then you'll get airdrops on top of that, because I wanted to give more utility. And for this project, I really wanted to create more value than I take. And so I'm doing, if we sell a certain amount, or excuse me, it's guaranteed 12 months where I'll be airdropping. And the airdrops are not just like, here's a picture of a fish. It's, maybe you need a snail to clean your tank, or a robot to clean your tank, or you get like a bottom feature to clean your tank. So the airdrops will be kind of split in 3 ways. Some of them will be more rare than others. If you don't like what you got, you can trade, sell, whatever you want to do. And so that's a layer, is these airdrops. And part of that will tell a story.
And 12 months of content, that's
Yeah.
incredible for an
So
NFT
think of it
project.
kind of as like buying a ticket to ride for like instead of Netflix, you've got this fish aquarium that will keep dropping things. And so those are the airdrops. But then they'll also be like, what if you wake up and your tank is cracked? What do I do? Like these are the things that are the like surprise and delight things that happen. I want no additional money. So like you buy the fish, that's your ticket to ride. One fish is enough. You'll get airdrops, but you do get airdrops per fish. So if you want to fill your tank out and you want 5 fish, you'll get 5 airdrops every month. If we sell out, even if we slow roll and sell out over time, then I'll extend it to 24 months post mint. Now, if you join late, you don't get the backfill of the airdrops. So early adopters get supported more through that. I'm airdropping things like what I already talked about. I've got a music producer that I already paid to make an album that I'll airdrop tracks from. So there'll be music that gets airdropped.
Wow.
And then there's this story. And so again, back to the whole, like, what if I can make you feel thing? There might be a time where, like anything, where your fish dies, but maybe death isn't the end, right? Maybe there's a switch on your tank that lets you switch to like this great fishy beyond where your fish swims around like a skeleton or a ghost or whatever. Maybe I airdrop you pieces of a time machine, and eventually if you collect all the pieces, you can mint a time machine. And would you use it? Would you go back to try and get more time with your fish? What if there's these ancient ruins that could do this ceremony or this ritual that could maybe bring your fish back? Would you do it? These are the things that you'll have to ask yourself. So there's this long journey that I've got planned out through airdrops, and sometimes there'll be holidays, and I'll be doing like snowmen for the winter light and holiday lights, or maybe a way to like make your tank feel like it's frosted up in the glass. I really just want it to be dynamic and just have constant things that drop through airdrops, constant things that just happen to your tank at random, and just go through that journey. And just what if I can make you feel? For a digital thing, you'll have a memory if your fish dies. Not everyone's will, but if one of your fish dies, like you'll have a date where you woke up and you went to your tank and my NFT died, right? Like that's a memory now that's with you. Like, so can you tell me NFTs aren't real if you've got a memory of the time yours died? Like it begs the question. And then there's one more layer, as if there wasn't enough. I've been honored to work with enough talented artists and that I could call friends. My artist friends will be creating unique accessories and backdrops that they'll sell as NFTs that you can buy, and those will work within the tank. Also, if we hit one of the tiers, I'll open it up to OpenSea in general. So if you've already bought an NFT that you really, really like maybe a broken crayons from Crypto Crayons, that can be your backdrop for your fish tank. So then the tanks actually start to become your own by adding the things that you care about and the layers inside.
Are you able to say some of the friend artists, just because I know some of them, and some of these people have incredible NFT artwork and it sells for pretty solid amounts on OpenSea?
Yep. Mumbot, Fidget, Mariana Martinez is working on something super, super special for the fishy underworld. I'm trying to think of some other ones on the spot. I wasn't prepared for the full list. Sam Pearson, pretty much all of the artists that I work with. And then there's
for
one
those who don't know, Mumbot's been recently, or has been mentioned more than once by Gary V.
Yeah. Her floor just went to like 2 ETH over the. Like, I was actually out to dinner and I got pinged on my phone, and like 2 things I never thought would sell like this rapidly. I thought over time, like it's like a rainy day like bid from my duplicates, and they both hit. I was like, what the hell's going on? And Gary V was doing like a one-on-one interview with her and just kind of letting her share her story. So again, these are people that like I've gotten to know over the last couple of months in the Lowbrow Art Collective. There's one particular that some VV friends might know, Mr. Frank Kozik. He's going to be doing some exclusive content.
Are we going to get Feesh Labbits?
Better. He actually like announced, it was an idea in my head when I was making this that I really wanted. I was like, if I can get Frank to say yes, and if I can get a scuba diving labbit, that would be that like life complete, right? Like, and so not only did he say that, he's like, yeah, but I want it to like fart around with fart bubbles. So he and I are working on this, the farting around scuba diving labbit that you'll be able to buy and do it. Do you want to jump into like the tank? I think that just helps kind of show like the animation and everything.
Scuba labbits confirmed.
Yes. Cool. So here is one of the tanks. Oh, you went into full screen, so it might be a little small, but just so everybody can see it. While we were building this, some of the community people that are on the Feesh Cord, it's a Discord for the fish people, said, I want it to be full screen. I was like, okay, so I'm working on it. Some of the scaling still needs to be adjusted so the tree's a little small. But yeah, so here's the thing. They swim around. You can see their individual little fins. And then, although this isn't your tank, this is one of mine. Actually, let me see if I can do it. What number are you on? 1?
Which, by the way, like, I mean, when you brought this up to me, like everyone loves aquariums, everyone loves fish. Like this makes sense, and especially like when you can put it into digital frames and things like this, and like the fact that like things will happen to your tank, like this is the stuff that a lot of the NFT projects look for, is like things that actually people enjoy to revisit with their NFTs, right?
Yeah. If you just hit refresh real quick, because I own this tank, I can change it. So if you just refresh your browser, I don't know what happened with those black lights. Hold on, let me see. Anyway, it's a work in progress, so I can adjust the lighting. If you do one more refresh.
So you're playing with the coding right now?
Not
oh, there you go. So they moved.
So not only do they move, but I put sand on the bottom instead of gravel.
Yeah.
And so this is a living tank. And so I could have this on my TV, modify it, and then it shows up. So it's taking, like, what if I could take NFTs and then layer more NFTs into make this living thing? And so that's what the Feeshes is. So you can sit back and chill. You can change all the different designs, all the different assets. There's a bunch of accessories, and I'll be airdropping a bunch, adding more in just for the free, like in case you don't have to buy anything else. The airdrops are free. There'll be this journey, and then there's tons of artists that will be selling stuff. And I've seen some of the early previews, and Johnny, he's OKK Minds. He's got some of these like totem pole things that are in his art style. So you get these like 3 different totems, and then you add on like somebody else, like Kate Samuels. She's got like this unique, like big-eyed kind of creature that she's working on, and just all of it layers together. And if you buy the things that you like, it becomes like your own kind of like living tank. And it can be on your phone. You can take it on the go. You can watch it on your computer on like a secondary screen while you're at work. You can put it on a TV. And yeah, so that's the fish. I just wanted to give something that was the utility all the way down. And then some of the fancier airdrops, it start off as like maybe the snail and the cleaning things, but then I've got like a submarine that you can put an actual other NFT inside of, and it'll swim around the tank. Yeah.
So so I would be able to see like
say if
I had a Bored Ape or something like that, like I could upload it and put it into that submarine.
Well, it'll actually just see that it'll see that you've got the ape in your wallet, and it'll see that you've got the airdrop of the submarine if you were so lucky. And when you click on the
ties that like the MetaMask code.
Yeah, so it'll see, like, basically you tap the submarine and it'll say, what do you want to put inside, if anything, and then you'll be able to pick another one of your NFTs, and it'll go in the little window and drive around.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's some other bonus things. If anyone supported Crypto Crayons with this Broken Crayons project, you'll get a special accessory. It won't be an NFT, but you'll have access to a special additional accessory, Frogland, the Visitors. There's a couple other ones like Kraken ships. And over time, if I just like a project, I'll do that as well. But it would be really cool too if I've got this one airdrop that I'm excited for. It's a picture frame, like a sunken ship picture frame, like a gold frame, and you can put another NFT in there. So I'm hoping when VEVE opens interoperability, I'll be able to see those VEVE NFTs in my wallet and then drop that in a picture frame. So then that way I've got like a floating, like, whatever the card looks like for like my favorite collectible in my fish tank. So then it's kind of like me in there.
So there might be potential possibilities. It
depends on how if VEVE opens it up for interoperability, then I don't see why it wouldn't. If it can work with OpenSea, then it would be fine, and I can do that for sure. If not, I'll look into it. But so picture frames are interesting. It'll be fun what happens with picture frames.
That's awesome. So I mean, anyone who's so I found about Feesh pretty early, just being in conversations with Brock, and I'm a big supporter of it. I love the idea. I think it's brilliant, and knowing his connections to several big name artists and like literally like friends with many successful NFT artists, and then also friends, or at least knows very well VEVE and other projects, it makes sense to me. And I think it's really cool, especially like I like the also just like your art and like how you made like the shadow, like the fact that you're able to do this. Like I could never do anything like this, but if anyone's interested in learning more about Feeshes, I put the information in the video of this, or the details of this video, on how to join the Feesh Cord, to see Feeshes on Twitter. I'll add the website as well. But really cool project. You can go use MetaMask on, and then on the site, and then buy the Feesh, and then it will be in your OpenSea wallet, which I have 3, and I'm waiting for them to reveal tonight.
Yep, and then if you can make multiple tanks too. So like you could have one that's like darker colors, and you could have one that's like lighter colors, like that's more tropical fish or whatever, and you can switch between them because you can.
So this is like my VEVE showroom, but aquarium.
Yeah, that's kind of a way to think of it. It's like it's if VEVE was a 2D animated showroom that only did fish stuff, then yeah.
All right. planetvampire.com wins for the best comment, this project will really scale. Well.
Yeah, and it works both because it'll scale up on the TV. Like I've actually just been like relaxing with my wife. The project for me, like it's been on my second screen for a while. If I'm stressed at work, I'll just like look over and like, hello, Fish.
I love how many people on several of our videos are trying to guess who you are. Like I saw people thinking you were Benjamin Cohen, like David Yu, like some very unique people. And like the reason why he won't dox himself is because there's he's an artist, right? He wants to maintain some of his personal side, and then we know that Brock is going to be pretty avid in the community, so we want to make sure that he retains who he is. But I'm not saying he's Elon Musk.
That's true. I'm not Elon Musk. But no, somebody shouted out David Yu. David Yu, he was another person that like, I'm usually up working late, and he's like just kind of ramping up into his day, and so we'll message. And yeah, I'm definitely Reese too. He got kind of some of the previews of like, I was like, I'm working on this thing, I think it's really, really crazy, and he was like championing it all along, and he's like, I need at least 6 Feesh, and he's trying to like trade me VV collectibles for more. Yeah, David Yu. And he like,
David Yu's buying Feesh.
Well, he has 6, I know that for sure. But then yeah, he shouted me out on that podcast. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like it's just cool to see, like, not only do we support VV, but VV supports like some of the other projects, and I wasn't the only one that he shouted out. But it was just super cool to see that, you know, in a way, like I've become such a super fan of VV, and then to have David Yu like fanning over the thing that I was able to kind of just create is super cool. But yeah, so they're minting now. If you mint before the reveal, which is in about like 2-ish hours from now, no rush though. There's an early bird airdrop that will be going out. I'll spoil it. It is actually a bird, like a scuba diving flapping rooster. Get it? It's like an early bird. The rooster crows to bring the sun. So
it goes to the aquarium.
Yeah, well, I'm animating it right now, so he'll like flap his wings and kind of like float around in space. Just something fun to give back to like the people that were early in. We're still doing giveaways, stuff like that. So really, it's a big thing that I'm hoping to be able to just give back to everybody and have fun with. Again, my goal is to try and create more than I take, and so I'm doing that through airdrops, and then just being able to try and give as much utility to each of the Feesh as possible.
I love it. I'm a big supporter of this. And again, everyone, like, go to the details of this video if you want to visit, but it's also just feeshes.com to go check it out. But I know we're over time. Do you have like another 15
If people
minutes?
have questions, I'm fine to do another like lightning round or whatever the community has, and they don't.
Okay. One thing I did want to ask is on the I mean, it's kind of been asked many times, and then we'll kind of go through some of the questions the community has. And I want to kind of quell it, because everyone always says, what happens if VV gets acquired? And I want to kind of say my 2 cents and get your 2 cents as well. And the fact that, I've worked with many companies and helped guide them through acquisitions and mergers and even divesting. And so when it comes down to it, they've said that this is their passion project. Like David Yu and Dan both have been wildly successful and very much like this is their passion project, which they did not expect to blow up. And they've talked about working with some big companies. They are already working with some very massive companies and brands. But the fact is they've talked about acquiring other companies to build it out. And most companies, when they're at this stage and they're successful, they're not looking to sell out as fast as possible. They're looking to build it up much bigger and then sell for a much higher price tag once it no longer is really worth it to them. But this is also something that David Yu built based off his passion of decades. So I don't see them being acquired anytime soon. I think they will acquire companies and maybe even merge with another company into spaces that they want to get into. Like everyone always says, like gaming, they could always acquire a smaller gaming company or merge with another company to create whatever they want, right? Versus just outsourcing, which they're currently doing. So I guess my question to you is, where do you see big picture, I guess, kind of the acquisition and merger side of VV going?
I think that so there's a couple ways to dive into that one. First is just, you don't have to merge or acquire everybody that you choose to work with. I mean, Disney is partnered with VV. One could see like, well, they're partnering first to see how it goes, and then maybe then they're going to buy them or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, you have to think about what is in it for the business. Like, yeah, they can make a lot of money if Disney like does a deal with them and buys them, or if another like big large like CBS is huge. Like they sure money, but there's also some people that just like that doesn't matter to them. Like you said, they've already been successful, and this is not a flex, but I've been very fortunate. I came from very humble beginnings, but I've been very fortunate the last couple of years in some of my investments. And like there's a point where you see the two commas, and it really tells you what you're made of.
Mm-hmm.
Like where there's a point where like, and again, this is gonna sound really fucking privileged, and I admit it that it sounds stupid, but like there's a point where it just doesn't, like a couple extra numbers on the side of a comma don't really change much. So you start to then find out like what are you really passionate about? What are you really doing? David seems to be wired to want to share his love of collecting and the joy of getting something that matters, that has a story, to the world. And that's what's driving it. It doesn't seem to be made of money. Money is the side effect of following your passions. And this is something that for years I've been preaching to people that I work with and other things. Like when you start chasing your passions rather than a paycheck, that's when usually the magic happens, as hokey as it sounds. The money will be a side effect of you doing the right thing. And I think that Dan wants to execute on this almost seemingly impossible thing, and that seems to be what drives him. David wants to dream big and curate these experiences and boldly go into things that are uncharted waters. Like it's easy to sit from the sidelines and say, hey, you're doing XYZ wrong, but like look at also what things they're doing right. And it's not something where there's a roadmap of like start business, do this, and NFTs are new. Combining NFTs and AR is something that is emerging. Building an app that you can buy on a primary and then have a secondary market, and then now build an AR like interface on top of, and a web platform. And it just, the complexity scales indefinitely, and they do a really, really good job about keeping it simple for the users to understand. That is why VeVe is kind of like the gateway piece to NFTs. You're seeing a lot of people jump into VeVe, have success, fall in love with collecting, and then jump into the wide open sea and explore new things. And I think soon enough, it'll be a full circle where VeVe is less closed and more open, and then that will make even more people explore, bring things in potentially like that. So I don't think the money is what they're about. I've gotten lucky enough to be able to get to know them on a certain level, but I can't tell you for sure like what drives them. But from my gut tells me is that they're doing it just based on raw passion and tenacity, and they're doing it all unfortunately like under lockdown, for whereas most of the world is doing it. So like foregoing haircuts and other crazy stuff like that, because they just love it. As hard as it's probably the most difficult job, not ever, but it is very hard having to answer to millions of people and still like do your job and answer to licensors and keep things organized and do the tokenomics. It's a lot. And you could say, well, oh, they need to hire, or oh, they need to do this. I think they are hiring, and I think that they're pulling things strategically, but they're also being cautious, because if you're not familiar, cultures are very, very fragile. And anytime you add somebody or remove somebody, the culture changes. And culture and the people, like that is the secret sauce for VeVe. And so they're being very, very cautious, I think, before just hiring 100 people and letting the company become like a shell of its former self. So they're following, it might not be the most business way, because let's just sell and make a bunch of money. But like I said, I think they're made from a different kind of form, and they're chasing the raw passion piece. So I don't think that they're going to get acquired anytime soon. I don't think that when you're someone like allll, that you're just looking for another number to be added to an already large number. I think this is where you're starting to see someone that wants to make a legacy. That is like the iPhone changed the way that we communicate with each other, or the internet. This is changing the way that we collect, the way that we identify ourselves through our collections, and the things that like the story, like my Labbits. Like those are the things that like the Labbits, the floor on Labbits are not that high. I think they'll continue to grow over time, but my Labbits are my Labbits, and it's a story. It's something that makes me feel good, and I think that they're empowering more people to find those things and to make them accessible to tons of people. So I don't think acquisitions something that they're even considering or thinking about. Mergers also, like they're doing fine, like reaching out to people. I think where it makes sense to merge, then they'll do it. They're going to do what's best for VeVe, what's best for the fans, what's best for the token holders, in the maximum possible. Will it always be exactly what you want? Maybe not, but they're willing to listen, and that's something that few businesses on this earth can say.
I agree, and I have a thought to that too. But shout out to J Co Zilliqa Omi Homie. I love Zilliqa too. But I know we're gonna take some questions if we still have some time, and I see a super chat as
sorry
well.
for
But
the rant, but you asked.
Oh, no problem. I mean, like I completely agree with like I'm invested in a bunch of other crypto, like, but OMI, of course, is my biggest bag, and I love the team, I love the project. But it's incredible to hear David talk and like, I mean, you look at his house, you look at what he's collecting, and like just like how many businesses he still has and has been successful with. Like, he is already wealthy, but talk about the project with. He's talking about the collectibles. He's talking about the brands. He's talking about us as a community. He isn't talking about how much money did we make on the last drop. That's just, which is different from most other crypto companies, you know? And then like hearing Dan saying like, we just wanted to sell a Batman. Like, would people actually buy a Batman from us and be able to play with it in AR? And like, that is so different in the crypto world. Like, of course we care about money and investments, and like, we want to all become independently wealthy, but we're having fun doing it. Right. And like, that is so different from many other projects. And you're right. Like they didn't just sign Disney for a multi-year, and all these other ones to then sell out the next year. They didn't sign on Al Khan, who had an entire article brought up about him and saying like he could have gone out with Pokemon being his legacy, but he decided to rise from the ashes and is going to make his namesake through VEVE and his other companies, Crane Con LLC, before he's done. Like, he could have retired. He's like 74 or 78. And so there's so many, and Jeremy Padower, I mean, there's so many different elements to this company that says it's here for the long run. Like, that's why of all my investments, OMI and VEVE is just one of the safest, because it is so strongly backed by conviction, passion, and honestly some wealth
and talent and experience too.
And
right?
talent and
Like,
experience. Yeah.
They know what they're talking. It's not just like I didn't, so yeah, I'm
People
with you.
spend money to know the people that they know over decades, right? Like, they are dripping campaigns to reach out to some of these brands and these people that they've known for decades. So that was my little 2 cents added, but and see where we go from there. But shout out to Super Duper Hank for the super chat. I appreciate it. A question for Brock: did you have any personal goals you wanted to see VEVE do since your early days on the app, and has the company achieved them? It's a good question.
Well, early enough days, having an app would have been great. So
he was pre-app.
When I joined, there wasn't an app yet, and then shortly after, the app had a different name and look, and even like the end product was different. But they said, hey, we can do better, basically, and took it in a completely different direction. And I think that having, I guess, going back to, not to beat a dead horse, but like going back to like the making the right moves when the right call. Sometimes the call is like, you know what, we can do better. We need more time, but we're going to do it right, and it's going to take it to 10,000 levels higher than it ever would have been. And so I've seen a ton of things. There are things that I are on like a wish list, but they're trivial things. I think they're like, I would love to sell sets, but also like I love my sets, so I'm fine to hold on to them in the meantime.
You could with Immutable X.
Yes. And I think even within the app, making it easy just through the UI of saying like, I want to sell a bundle of like everything under 100 mint for all of season 1, and then have a season 2 and like whatnot. Like, I think those things will one, make VEVE just, you sit back and realize like how much value are in some of these collectibles. But I think that would be cool, being able to reach out to someone saying, hey, you're at 1.8, I'll give you 1.6. Like, being able to put asks or bids against an ask, I think would be cool. But I also like the way that what it is. But I think there's small things like that are coming, and there's small trivial things. And again, going like, oh, I can't even search users, or I can't even. They had to prioritize different things. And I think sometimes by having the time to see how the app gets used actually makes better informed decisions when they actually execute on it. And so, yeah, I think there's just the small little kind of like finishing touches on some of it that I'd love to see. I'm really excited to see how the web platform works, because I think that will be super cool, and to be able to set up showrooms easier. But they became the #1 top grossing app in about a year. I don't know how much more I can ask for
in multiple countries.
And I've said this in business before. Like, I might like Snicker bars, right? But fish like worms. And so, although my personal preference is something different, sometimes you have to go with what you're going after. And they're making something that humans that like to collect things. Like I think they can make a call better than me with their years of experience with collecting. So even though my personal preference might be something like, oh, I wish the colors were this, or I wish the color, it seems to be working fine for a lot of people. And so I can forego my like personal opinions on certain things as long as eventually we get the rest of the features. And I think there's a roadmap for all of it. Do I want to be able to search users, or do I want tokenomics? Like I think they're now swinging back.
We want it all, but
the app
priorities.
scaled enough. The app scaled enough to where now it's solid. We saw the hiccup on Decon, but that wasn't really them. It seemed like it was this new third party that they were using for security and stuff, which people were screaming about before. So like they're pushing on the things that you want. You can't be like, hey, I don't want bots, but I don't want a janky experience. And like they're putting all the pieces in place. And two drops later, we saw like mid-flight with hella influx of users, smooth drops. So I think that is good. And now swinging back to like the token side and connecting that is what I want next.
Absolutely. And appreciate that. So one thing I did see a question was someone was asking on what is the gas price for Feeshes. Well, I'll answer that. It's going to be whatever the gas is tied to at the time. I recommend you look on Etherscan and see where it's at and try to time it. But you can mint more than one at a time. So like I bought 3 Feeshes and I spent X amount of gas, and then it was just one and done, right? So I would recommend
you can mint up to 10. Not that again, I understand the ask. That's not in everyone's kind of range for price. You can also, as long as they don't sell out completely, add one whenever you feel like it. So do what's best for you. There is, although there's a bonus NFT for the early supporters, don't feel like that's make or break. There's going to be tons of airdrops and other special things that are coming. So do whatever. I have, since Dan threw it out that some companies are going to be taking OMI, today people reached out, and so I've been taking Collectibles, where we just take however many fish you wanted, the price of the fish plus the gas at the current time. I'll mint for you. Give me a MetaMask wallet address. I'll take whatever collectible makes sense and then send it. It's not the preferred because it's inefficient. I'm eating a little bit of the gas to transfer them. But at the end of the day, I'm not doing this for money. I think this will be fun and push the limits of what NFTs and how ecosystems can work together. And so I hope that you'll buy the ticket to ride if you feel interested. But if not, we can still be friends. It's cool. I'm not trying to pressure anybody into anything that they don't want to do. I think it's going to be fun, but also don't feel like you can wait out the gas too if you want.
And shout out to Brennan Z for the super chat. Was Brock a VIP in Squid Game? Have you watched Squid Game, and are you a VIP?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not supposed to say.
You haven't seen Squid Game? Oh, okay, got it. You don't have your card on you?
I have a deck of cards, but
why? Really?
What? You don't have just props? No, I'm just kidding.
I guess not. No. Let's see. Looking at a few questions. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and appreciate the shout outs. And make sure you hit that like button, everyone. Appreciate it, because I know some people can't make these and they end up watching them later, and then they get Brock's awesome knowledge following the video. So we appreciate all the likes. Let's see. I saw a really good question a minute ago. Ooh, are you going to a VEVE event in the future and meet Eagle Eyes? If you go, or are you going to keep the mask on? So Eagle Eyes wore a mask at the event at Decon.
It would be good if someone got this mask and there was like the V for Vendetta type thing of like everyone just stands up at the same time and says they're Brock McBlockchain. I mean, it would be funny if I was at Decon and no one knew, right?
Oh man, don't mess with me like that.
It'd be funny.
Sorry, I had to block someone who's typing about webcams and crap in my chat.
Oh. Hey, can someone help with my webcam? No, I was not at Decon, or maybe I was. I don't know. But no, I've got young kids, and keeping the mask just for their extra safety, just because I'm a wild and crazy person on the internet. Yeah, and I'm Andre Jack.
And Andre Jack, yeah.
Right, all of them. But no, was there a question before that? IMX?
Yeah, someone just typed IMX question mark. Are you
I mean, I can just, in case it's in reference to the Feeshes. Feeshes is on Ethereum. The airdrops will be on Polygon to keep gas super low, in case, because I think those will be more likely sold. If like say I have 6 fishes, I might get duplicates of something, and so being able to sell and grab, like, I got 2 pieces of a treasure map and I want to try and get the other piece or whatever, I could sell my duplicate pieces for other things and then put it together and get actual treasure or something like that. So yeah, that's something that's a thing. IMX, if you're asking in the form of VeVe, I think that they're working as fast as they can, but it's another party, and so they're at the whim of when IMX can get back to them and stuff. And I think that they're just having trouble with all the inbound attention, and it's just a matter of time. If I had to guess, I think trying to onboard the number one grossing app is probably a bump to them to the top of the queue. Also, like kind of shitting the bed, so to speak, when dealing with that is probably not a good look. So I would say that they're probably all hands on deck to try and make that go as smoothly as possible.
That's the one thing I'm really worried about is, and like not worried, like it's going to be short-term pain is, I mean, Immutable X is, they haven't had anything as vast. I mean, there's over what, 2 million collectibles that they have to bring, like, or like obviously in waves, but the quality of these collectibles versus what's on currently is vastly different, right? So when they do, like, that's why it's probably taking so long, is because they want to make sure it doesn't look like crap or there aren't issues. Like,
right, I also think another thing that comes into play too is it's easy on the blockchain for me to go, all right, stop everything, I'm going to mint these millions of things, and it just gets queued up and does like 80,000 or 100,000 at a time. But when you have the top grossing app, you can't just push pause and have it take 4 days, right? That's just not practical. And so I think VeVe has demands and constraints that IMX is not used to. And so they're working through those things of like, how can we together problem solve this? And then that's only going to make everyone behind VeVe's experience like smoother. Just like the first drop was rough, everyone has like their first drop that was just like why Golden Moogly, why Nightwing, all of these terms that trigger some people. It's because it triggers this trauma of a rough drop. And now it's like, it didn't get a green truck, and like that's the worst of it, right?
Which is going away.
Right.
RIP green truck.
Well, maybe they can give you a green truck as like an NFT, or maybe you still
Someone
see the green truck from like the grant. So I don't know, we'll see. But there's just in a new industry such as blockchain, it's not as simple as launching a website always. There's a lot of complexity that comes with it, especially when it's tied to money or something that you can't necessarily undo. And so it takes a little extra care. And I'm sure that these kind of early teething moments will be rectified by all parties that are working together to try and solve it. So I'm not worried.
I agree. And I think this will be probably a lot. I've kept you way over, but I think this is a really good one. Carlos asked, difference between a digital collectible in a closed ecosystem versus an NFT on mainnet, the Gary V argument, which if you want to even talk about the Gary V side, feel free to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that reality is we all win together, and like it's easy to point fingers and like turn on each other. But if you zoom out, you're like arguing with like, it's like being a dust of sand and then zooming out and seeing the earth, right? Like we are very, very small as an industry in the big scope of things. And so if the 1% are going to tear each other apart over something so trivial, you could say like, oh, it's a closed ecosystem. They're actively opening it up. So like you can say it all you want. You can only say it for a few more weeks. So get it out of your system, because eventually it's going to become not true. And to say like, it was never minted on mainnet until this date, but it was minted on GoChain over here. And then because I saw something today about like, it's not a standard token. Yeah, Feeshes is not a standard token either. I add extra stuff. You can't charge for an NFT in the standard token. Like, GoChain is like the platform. They don't look at every single bit of traffic or every single smart contract. And if they want to keep it proprietary, where they don't publish the address and whatnot, they might pre-mint assets that are NFTs that they keep in a custodial wallet. And you're like, well, I can't see the transaction, so it's not real. Well, what if they don't move? Because it's all controlled in a second layer. And at any point they can assign those while they move. And like, there's tons of ways that they could have done it. And so I think that the end of it is like, we can argue and go round and round because you can't prove it. The transactions aren't there. It's not really on an NFT. It could be NFTs sitting in one wallet that just don't move and still be NFTs, right? Like at the end of the day, an NFT is a token that has an ID number. It's the fact that VeVe connects the metadata to that ID number and then to the wallet that has it, whether it's custodial or eventually some like an individual wallet. That's what makes the NFT worthwhile. I'm happy to go into like the tech side of it, but there's a lot of debate from people that just like NFTs can't change, and because they updated the asset, then it's not an NFT. Like the NFT didn't change, the asset that's connected to it changes. Like it's still immutable. And so again, maybe we do a primer on the technology side. I'm totally fine for that. But yeah, I think it's soon going to be indifferent. Like it's going to be a digital collectible is an NFT. They are the same thing as far as VV is concerned. It's just it's in a custodial wallet, so it doesn't move around. So it's just that's what's going on.
And they're still being reminted onto an Ethereum solution, right? So they're still the first Spider-Man, like whether you can sell them
in the
OpenSea
metadata, they could
marketplace,
they could link it to the original asset, and then it's the original. Like, or they could wrap the original in a different token, and it's actually the same thing. It's just now on a different network. Like, there's tons of ways to do it. I think when you see a flat picture of like a trading card compared to an animated Spider-Man that has sound and everything, it's just you'll see which one the people want, and yeah. So
I can completely agree more. I could not agree more that we're very, very early. I mean, I've said a million times that like crypto is still pretty early into the bigger, vast space of the technology with blockchain technology and even like finance world, like with DeFi. But NFTs is very early subset of crypto. And then when you look at digital collectibles of NFTs, that is even more subset of the vaster NFT space. And there's like, I can't wait for the Coinbase marketplace to actually happen because like they said, like 99 or like 97, like 99.7% of their users don't have NFTs. So it shows how much market share is still available. And then underneath that is all of us. So let Gary V and Joe Lubin and all these other people create something that's in our space and bring more people awareness to IP, to the brands, because they're going to be looking for more. And guess where they go?
Yeah.
Wait, right here. Right there.
Yeah, rub it in. I don't have any of that, but I do have a labbit.
Is it a scuba labbit?
No, it has ghosts in its belly, and then ghosts coming out of its butthole.
Nice.
So I do have that.
I'm supposed to have a plushie labbit, but I ordered it way long ago. I actually got the Tristan Eaton OG Devil Bunny while I was at Decon, so that'll be on my shelf in a. I think he said there's like only like 50 made or something like that. So I was like, first I beelined it right for his booth right when I got it to Decon. You would have loved it, by the way. All the artists were there.
Yeah, I was. Sorry, I missed it.
Or did you?
Yeah, no. I'm fighting hard not to talk about the Devil Bunnies because I still need the ultra rare. I could grab it, but I started grabbing only things with the number 13 in them because I'm a weird person, and so I'm waiting for like one of those mints to pop up. So if anyone wants to help me
don't reveal the mints that you collect. I think you made that mistake once before.
That
saw people just like shot the price up because they're like, "Oh, Brock collects these." Like,
oh yeah, the 265 labbits. Fuck you. It's $8,000 minimum. All the other ones are $100. Like, thank you. Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is. I mean, if I'm hungry enough for it, I'll see. But also, if you're unrealistic, then you can keep it, right? So we'll see. But yeah, no. Were there any other questions? Happy to answer if there are any. If not, totally fine.
Let's see. I don't really see any that jump out, but I know that we're over time. We've kept you for much more time. But I guess before we close out, are there any other parting thoughts on Ecomi, VEVE, or anything that you wanted to kind of just say before our next conversation to the community? Because it seems like a lot's about to happen. And just any kind of like closing thoughts?
Like I don't think any of you are fucking ready. Like I'm sorry, I'm not one to hype things up, but just like I don't know, my mind starts to put together things.
You're not. So you saying that, I'm like,
so I mean,
am I ready?
I don't think so. But thank you for anybody that took the plunge into the Feeshes. I hope to give you a wild ride with lots of fun and excitement. If it's something that's just not in your wheelhouse financially, or something that you just don't want an NFT project, I totally understand. But I hope to give more value than I produce. And yeah, definitely if you want to reach me, I'm on Twitter. I'll be on the Fish Cord. I'm usually around pretty much wherever. So even if you've got a question after this, I'll try and answer it on Twitter. And yeah, just this is still a game at the end of the day. I know it's easy to turn on each other and like say, oh, he's done this or he's done that. But like there's so many of us here and we can all win. So don't turn on each other just yet. There's more fun to be had.
Price
predictions. Price
Yeah,
prediction?
I did see that price prediction. What's your price prediction?
I don't know. It turns on the range. I don't want to try and hype it. I think if everything goes well, like where we get I think the tokenomics article is going to make people that have given up do a 360 or 180, whatever. 360 would just be right where they're at.
A 720 backward,
yeah,
heel side.
900. Tony Hawk confirmed. Yeah, I think that that when you see probably like if it has what I think is in it, just like the Master Collector, I think it's going to be really, really good, and I think that we've all been desperately wanting the success of VV to be like kind of handcuffed to the token, and I think it's just it's not that the team wants to not do that. It's just things had to fall where they had. Like if you had tokenomics but you didn't have any IP, like then the app wouldn't be great, and like and then you'd still be in the same spot. So like they did it in the way that makes logical sense, and I think that it's just a matter of time to get them switched to IMX. Then we'll get exchanges, and then the tokenomics will be there, and like anybody that's got like OMI will be able to jump the line, so to speak, to grab those things on the primary, plus staking, plus all of these other things. And yeah, it's going to be a good time, I think. And then they're just getting started on the collectible side. And I think there'll be accessories that'll just burn straight from circulation if they're not licensed, and all those other things. So I don't know. Price prediction short term, if everything goes favorably, I could see an easy 10x or more, especially with just off some of these. Like if we get some good exchanges and the tokenomics all go at once, I think it's an easy 10x. And then beyond that, like it's just going to get silly. So.
Wow. Okay. Well, you guys heard him. I mean, Brock is not really one to overhype and is very careful about his words all the time, unfortunately. But you heard his price prediction. I mean, a lot of wise words shared from Brock, and you can find him on Twitter. I listed his Twitter in the details of this video. You can find the Fish cord there. You can find the Fish's website. I'll add it in there as well. He's always dropping great little like tidbits on like what to look for in the VV market, or like he'll be like, hey, cough, cough, totally looking at this collectible and it seems super undervalued with this many mints. So he's a great one to follow and stay in communication on Twitter. So highly recommend it. But Brock, this is I think our third conversation. I'm sure we'll have many more, but I know I and everyone in the community really like value your insight and the way you think, especially since you were one of the few that we know that's been around for years and has saw what was nothing of Ecomi and VV early and is now very much something and continue to invest and continue to hold. So we really appreciate you taking time to hop on and share some of the words of wisdom. So yeah, I can't say enough that you're a huge asset to this community and can't wait for the next conversation.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks to Tabs as always for the chat. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks everyone. Hit that like and leave comments below, and we'll answer also any other questions that you may have afterwards, maybe in the comment section. So appreciate your time, Brock.
Yeah. See ya. Have a good one.
Bye everyone.